Hi boys and girls, Mrs. Verhoff here. Welcome to Social Studies Chapter 1, Lesson 4. We're going to go ahead and talk about some vocabulary words that you've already heard in previous lessons, and then we'll go ahead and get started on learning what's happening in Lesson 4. So before we begin this lesson, you will need your social studies textbooks to page 32. So make sure you have your social studies textbooks, and we will be working on page 32. So let's get started. First of all, our vocabulary. The word community. Community is a group of people who live and work in the same place. So remember that if you live in Cairo, you belong to Cairo's community. If you live in Bath, you live in Bath community. Or if you live in Elida, you live in Elida's community. I live in Ottawa, so I belong to Ottawa's community. The next vocabulary word is citizen. Citizen is a person who lives in and belongs to the community. So I would be a citizen of Ottawa. If you live in Cairo, you're a citizen of Cairo. If you live in Bath, you're a citizen of Bath. The word culture is, remember, a way of life shared by members of a group. Remember, we put up our four fingers, a way of life. It's shared by members of a group. The word business is workers make or sell things or do work for others. So Walmart would be a business. Meijer would be a business. Blue Lake General Store would be a business. Speedway would be a business. So there's lots and lots of different businesses where workers make or sell things or do work for others. A museum, we can see objects from other places and times. Right here in Allen County, you have the Allen County Museum, where you can go and look at different pieces of items from the past from Allen County. You also, down south, you can go to the Neil Armstrong Museum. So that's where you can see objects from other places and times. Laws are rules that a community makes. You have your own set of laws in your community. We have our own set of laws within our state and within our country. Government is a group of people who make rules and solve problems for a community. We have different levels of government, which we'll learn about later on throughout the year. Right now you might be hearing a lot about government because we're in election year. The election is so close. So in our Allen County, we have government. We have, just in Lima, we have our mayor of Lima. You might have your city or town council. Those are all people or members of the government. They were elected by the people to help make rules and solve problems for your community. Oh, the word climate is the weather a place has over a long period of time. Desert is a place where the climate is dry. They don't get a lot of rain. And landform is a kind of land. So there are different types of landforms. You might have mountains or hills or valleys or plains or islands. Those are all types of landforms. Some more vocabulary is goods. Things that can be bought or sold are goods. A service is work that someone does for someone else. So you might be a firefighter, a police officer, a teacher, a nurse, a doctor. Any work that someone does for someone else is a service. Banks are businesses that keep our money safe. Our nation, or you might hear someone call it our country, is an area of land with its own people and laws. So our country is the United States of America. Our country has its own set of laws. We border Canada, which is another country, and we border Mexico, which is also another country. They have their own set of people and their own set of laws, different from those of the United States, the country we live in. Communication is the sharing of information. There's many different ways that you can communicate. First of all, you can talk. You can just simply talk to somebody. You can email. You can message. You can text. You can use your cell phone. You can even write a letter. Those are all different types of ways to communicate. The internet is a system that links computers around the world. You might have the internet at home to do computer work. We all have the internet at school that helps us log into AR or do extra math or log into Schoology. And these last ones are words that we're going to learn today. Reference works, ancestor, heritage, historic site, and historical society. So those are words that we are going to learn today. So what I'd like you to do now is I'd like you to turn to page 32 in your reading textbook. We're going to start reading lesson 4, Discover Your Community. It says, imagine that you are a detective. Detectives search for clues to discover the truth about events. They read books, talk to people, and visit places. Detectives make notes about each discovery, both large and small. The clues they find are like puzzle pieces. When these pieces are put together, they form a complete picture of what happened. If you look at the picture at the bottom, this is a caption. The caption describes what the picture is. They're students looking at old community photographs. And you can see how old they are. If you look at that picture, you can see kind of the edges of the paper kind of tattered, and they're a little bit yellowed. Page 33. Become a detective. It says, like a detective, you can search for facts about your own community. You can learn what life is like in your community's past. You may learn about jobs and leaders. You might also discover facts about cultures in your community. One way to find information about your community is to visit a library. A library has many reference works or sources of facts. At a library, you can study maps to learn about your community's geography. You can also look at old and new photographs of your community. Ask a librarian to help you find what you need. Take notes when you find something useful. So yeah, you can go to a library and you can find all sorts of information about your community, whether new or things that happened in the past. And you can look at photographs or old newspaper clippings. So many resources a library can provide you if you wanted to research what your town or your community would look like. So let's go back here. So I'm just going to pull up the Lima Public Library and show you where you could go to find some information or to guide you at the library. So if I would go to Find Info, in Allen County, Ohio History Resources, you could go, and this just tells some resources that the Allen County Library would have. So these numbers correlate to something in the library, and that would guide you to a specific place within that library to find this specific information. So there's many interesting articles of information that you could go look at the Allen County Library. Now I know Cairo has a library as well, so you could also go to Cairo and learn a little bit about Cairo's community's history. And you might find old pictures, maybe maps of what your town used to look like. It probably looks much different now than it did in the past. So that's a great resource if you're looking for reference works or sources of facts about your community. All right, let's go ahead and move on. Page 34. So interview other citizens. Interviewing or asking questions is another good way to learn about your community. There are many people you can interview. You can ask business owners about jobs in your community. You can also talk to your community members about different cultures found in your community. Older family members are also good sources of information. They can tell you about your ancestors. An ancestor is someone in a person's family who lived long ago. So that might be your great-grandma, your great-great-grandma, or even your great-grandpa, great-aunt, great-uncle. So anybody in your family that lived a long time ago. An older person can also tell you about your heritage. A heritage is a set of values and ways of life handed down from people who lived long ago. So again, heritage is a set of values and ways of life that's been handed down. It continues to be handed down from generation to generation. That's a heritage. Now, on page 35, it talks about doing an interview. We're not going to go over this page. I'm just going to briefly talk to you about it. So if you wanted to learn your community's history or your town's history, again, we talked about you could go to the library and find some of that information. We also talked about how you could interview someone. I know that when I was young, I had to interview my grandpa. And things when he lived compared to when I lived at that age were completely different. Okay, even if I would look at pictures from my town when my grandpa or even my great-grandpa lived, the town looks completely different. Okay, so you could interview someone to learn more about your community's past or things that maybe your family went through when they lived a long time ago compared to how they live today. So an interview is something that you could do. You just ask questions. You ask questions and the person gives you information. Okay, let's go to page 36. Write to or visit places. So it says to get information about your community's history, you can write to or visit museums and historic sites. A historic site is a place where an important event took place. So I'm going to pause there and I'm going to show you historic site. So this first one, boys and girls, this first one is those historic sites. So I found this website and I actually thought it was really cool because this shows you the map of Ohio and it shows you all the different historic attractions. So you can, if it works, I apologize, it's not responding. Okay, let's see. Okay, so you can go to this website and you can find different historic attractions. So all throughout Ohio. So you can go and explore Ohio, find things to do. It gives you certain festivals and events that are coming up. So I thought this website was pretty cool, and it's not cooperating with me, so I apologize. Let's try another one. Maybe that one will work better. So another historic site right here in Ohio is William Howard Taft. He was a president. And did you know that there are several presidents that were born in Ohio? Yeah, how cool is that? So this is where President Taft was born. This is his house. So this is a historic site, all right? This is a place where an important event happened. Yeah, a U.S. president was born here in Ohio. So you can go and you can go visit this place and learn about Taft, President Taft. And that just gives you another picture. And this is actually inside. Let's see, another one. So I find this to be really interesting. This is a serpent mound in Ohio. Do you see this serpent mound? Do you see how this grass, I don't know if you can see it, is raised up? Okay, that's a serpent mound. And that's just known as, it's a historic landmark, that it was built by the ancient American Indian cultures of Ohio. It's in the mound of, it's a shape of an animal, which is a snake. Okay, this is a snake. So you can learn about all of this and you can actually go visit this serpent mound in Ohio. And I do believe I have some other pictures of the serpent mound. So this is some aerial views of what Ohio's serpent mound looks like. Can you see how it winds? So you're looking at the green, okay? All this right here, that is just where you can walk. So you're looking at all the raised green part. See how it goes and curls and then it has that curly tail. Okay, that's an aerial view of the serpent mound. Here's some other pictures of what it looks like. So right here in Ohio, you can go see this. This would be a historic site. Here's another one, Perry's Monument. This is at Put-in-Bay. So it's a tall monument, and this is Perry's Victory and International Peace Monument Memorial that you can go to. It was built to honor those who fought in the Battle of Lake Erie during War of 1812. So this is another place that you can go visit. It's a historic site. And I believe I have one more. Okay, yeah, I really like this one because this shows the Ohio. Okay, so this is the state of Ohio, and all these places are landmarks, historic landmarks in Ohio. So if I wanted to hover over it, it tells me this is the Harding home. Okay, so this is another president that was born in Ohio. Okay, our 29th president, Warren Harding. So this is where he lives. So this is a historic site. Another one is McKinley-Tune. McKinley National Memorial in Canton. It's the final resting place of William McKinley, who's another president. So you can hover over all of these different places, and these are all historic landmarks, historic sites, just in Ohio. And it shows you even more pictures. So I found this website to be awesome. Definitely some really cool places that you could visit and learn a lot about your history. So let's go back and finish our reading. Another source of information is your community's historical society. A historical society is an organization of community members who are interested in their community's history. You can get more information about your community from other places too. Businesses, parks, schools, and government offices are some of these places. So I found some websites on historical societies just by Googling them, and I'm going to show you a few that I found. So this one is Ohio's Historical Society, and Ohio's Historical Society, remember, are just people who are truly interested in the state of Ohio's history. So they find information throughout the entire state of Ohio, and we can take a closer look at it and find the history of Ohio. This is actually a picture of where the Ohio Historical Society used to be. So this picture was taken in 1931. So that's a really, really long time ago. Many, many, many years ago. And down here, it gives us places we can also click to learn about different places in the state of Ohio, different facts about the state of Ohio. Another website that I found is Holmes County. So Holmes County, these are people who focused on the entire county. So all the towns within their county, Holmes County. So here, this is just an example. They have a museum of a Victorian house, and you can go in there and look to see what it was like. So, I'm sorry. And I found this really, really awesome. So they give information about each town within their county. So right here, this is a picture from 1829. Boys and girls, that was so long ago. You could actually do the math and figure out how many years ago this picture was taken. If you take 2020, 2020, and subtract 1829, it would give you how many years this picture was taken. So just many different pictures and facts about each town, the history of each town. So I really thought this website was really interesting. Many dirt roads. I saw a lot of dirt roads. It just shows you how different it was back then. And then I have one more. And it's actually about just a city, just a small town called Granville. It's in Granville, Ohio. It's outside of Columbus. So this is just a historical society based on their main focus is on their town. So there's community members that find history about their specific town, and this one is Granville, Ohio. And you can see that it looks like there's gentlemen looking at an old photograph. Maybe it's a map, maybe it's something like a house or a business, but it looks like they're studying this picture right here. So they just give some facts about their town, Granville history. I can go to Granville history. I can go to about Granville. Obviously, there's many, many different things that I can look at, but I'm just going to click on this one at the top. And this just gives a little history about their town, what it looked like. And this is what it looks like today. Just a cute little town. Okay. So there are many ways that you can find information about your town, about your state, about your country. So you can even ask somebody. So we talked about interviewing skills. Go out and ask someone that's older, like a grandparent or an aunt or an uncle. And you can ask them what life was like back then when they were little, and see how different it is to now. See what they went through, what changes have occurred. You can ask questions. I'm not going to read this, but you can ask questions during a visit. Maybe if you visit a museum or historical society or historic site, there's many interesting facts that you want to know. Maybe you have a guide that takes you and tells you about the history of these places. These are just questions that you can ask. And this picture right here is a historian at the Maxton Historical Society studies his community. So he's a historian, so he studies his community. Boys and girls, you did a fantastic job with this lesson. I encourage you to go and ask those questions. Find a little bit about the history of your community.